Good afternoon, Drawing Club, and welcome to another robotics drawing activity. Last week it was BakerBot. This week it's Sparky Springbot. Why on earth is he called Sparky Springbot? Well, if you've seen the picture already, you will know, and if you haven't, then you're about to find out. Just like last week, I've got my colouring pencils, a nice sharp pencil with an eraser on the end, and my black pen for finishing off. If you don't have a pencil with an eraser on the end, that's fine. You can just use a nice sharp pencil and a separate eraser. I've also got my pieces of paper. Not just the one piece of paper, but I have other pieces of paper underneath to give it a bit more of a cushion so it's not too scratchy when I write. A reminder about some of my top tips. A nice light pencil grip when you're first starting. Don't press really hard because it gets very uncomfortable and you scratch the paper and you never rub it out if you make a mistake. No, nice and steady. We're going to do a nice light pencil grip to begin with. Just like BakerBot, Sparky Springbot starts off with some simple shapes. Shapes like squares, rectangles, semicircles. So we'll start with our piece of paper in portrait, not landscape, but portrait. And we can start off by drawing a nice rectangle. Last week the body was a bit more square, but this week it's going to be a rectangle. So the two sides at the top are a bit shorter than the two sides here. Top ones are shorter, top and bottom shorter. These ones are a little bit longer. Rectangle. Then we find out why he's called Sparky Springbot as we start with his neck, which today is a spring. Now watch very carefully. Starting here, in the middle, on the top line, and I make this spring shape. If yours goes in one direction or another, that's okay. It will just mean that his head is slightly tipped a bit later on. So there's our coiled spring for his neck. We're going to put in two small rectangles for his shoulders, a bit like we had for BakerBot last week. And we're going to do a nice long rectangle that's a little bit skinnier than the main body, and this part will be his waist. Now Sparky Springbot has got nice round shoulders, so we're going to put a semicircle which looks like a curly K here, and then the opposite on this side for his nice round shoulders. And then inside our main body rectangle, we're going to do a smaller rectangle, just like we did with BakerBot last week. A smaller rectangle inside. So it starts to look a bit like a photo frame. And this is his body. Now let's move on to his head. Sparky Springbot's head is a square. Now you could do your square on a little bit of an angle. I'm going to have mine a little bit tipped. Oh, that's not very good. Let me get my eraser. Luckily, I used a light pencil grip, so I can easily rub out that line. I'm going to turn my page so I can make sure my square is nice and accurate. And a line going across and a line going across. I'm much more happy with that now that I've turned my page. When I turn it back, hey, you can see his head has tipped this way a little bit. I'm really pleased with that. Now, Sparky Springbot has got some unusual ears. So at the top of each side of the square, we draw another small rectangle and another small rectangle. Those aren't his ears. These are the parts we join his ears to. Let's put a semicircle here, just like we did for the shoulder, and a semicircle here, just like we did for the shoulder. And then one nice big semicircle going from just inside the edge of his square head up and over to the opposite side. Circular shapes are tricky to draw. Sometimes it's helpful to turn the page as you draw them. You find what works comfortably for you. Now, we made a picture frame inside his body. We're going to make a picture frame inside his head too. A small square inside his square head. And Sparky Springbot is starting to come together. Time for his arms. Now his arms are made up of rectangles and circles. Let's take a look on this side, starting with the rectangle. Down it comes and across. You can see it comes about halfway down his body. Then we add a slightly bigger rectangle, slightly wider rectangle, and then we do this one again down here. So we've got the joins. This is like his elbow joint. On this side, it's a little bit different because Sparky Springbot is going to be waving. We start off with the same rectangle as on that side. But this time, instead of having this rectangle, we're going to have a circle for his join. And then inside the circle, a smaller circle. This is the same join as this one, but just turned slightly. Another rectangle comes out this way, and we close that one off. And those are his arms down to here. We haven't yet done his hands. That comes now. Start off right on the corner of this rectangle and draw a nice curve, and do the same on this side. Curve. We're going to do the same on this end. Curve. Curve. He's got pinchers or snippers, has our Sparky Springbot. From here, we're going to make this arrowhead shape, or like a capital A, to join those two together. And over here, it will look a little bit more like a V, but just tipped on its side. Chop, 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 chop. Sparky Springbot's hands are done. Right, his neck was a spring. The joins of his legs also a spring. So we need to think his legs are going to come down either side of the middle. So find where the middle is and then find the middle again. And this is where we're going to do our spring. I'm going to make mine quite tight this time. 3. I'm going for 4 loops. You can do however many loops you like. 1, 2, 3, 4. Tried to make my loops the same size. That bit's quite tricky, but I'm really pleased with mine. On the end of his springs, we're going to have a circular shape. I'm just going to connect that together there, and a circular shape, and I'm going to connect that together there. These are like his knees, really. He's got short legs. From his knees, we've got his shins, which are 2 rectangular shapes coming down like this. Don't join the ends of these. Lovely. And time for his feet. And his feet are a semicircle shaped like this, finished off with a rectangle underneath. Right, if you need to pause the video and catch up, you can. We're about to do the details. So the details will be inside his face, his head, inside this top bit of his head, and inside his chest as well. Ready for the next step? Fab. We're going to do his face. Now I'm going to turn mine so the square is nicely orientated. Excuse me. And we start off with his eyes, which are 2 big circles. You can make them bigger, you can make them closer together. It's up to you. Mine are going quite wide apart. And then he's going to have a rectangular mouth that stretches all the way across. Big mouth. Doesn't he look funny? Great. Inside those, I'm going to draw the same shapes again. A bit like our photo frames. This bit's tricky. Ooh. Ooh. And then inside my rectangle, I'm going to draw another smaller rectangle. Ooh. Careful. Lovely. Hey, I'm really happy with that mouth. That looks great. Okay, now we're going to work on his body a little bit. Last week we had different sections for our BakerBot, but this week for Sparky Springbot, I think we're just going to go for split him in half like this, trying to make sure that this side and this side are equal. But of course, it's up to you. Okay, let's get a little bit more funky then. Let's add some other details onto Sparky Springbot. What could we have? He's called Sparky, so we definitely need some sort of electricity. Should we give him a battery? Yeah, let's put a battery inside his chest. I'm going to make a rectangle like this. Draw a line at the top. And then on top of the battery, we need the bits that we're going to connect it to, the positive and the negative. Yeah, oh, we need to show that it's positive and negative. So this one's going to be negative, and this side's going to be positive. A little takeaway and a plus. We've got to connect this somehow. Let's draw some lines going up into his arms. Yeah, look at that. It's starting to come together. There's his battery. Oh, we need to show. He's called Sparky Springbot. We can see the springs. We can't see any sparks. Right, let's give him a nice sparky mouth. Ooh, ooh, jaggedy. Ooh, 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 ooh. Yeah, I like that. I might even do some inside his brain as well. Let's do little antennae here and here with a line and a circle, and then connect those. Brilliant. Now yours doesn't have to look exactly like mine. You can add any bits you like to your Sparky Springbot. I'm going to do a triangle here, and a triangle here, with little circles on the end as more antennae. They look like little pigtails. Brilliant. Maybe do some stripy eyes. What else could I have for my... I've got lots of space down here. Maybe I could do some... Oh yeah, I know what we could have. Be useful for charging my phone if I was friends with Sparky Springbot. I'll have a plug over here. Little on-off switch. And I'll have another one underneath. A little plug. Of course, if you are from somewhere else in the world and you can't use this plug, you could have an American plug, or you could have a European plug, or you could have a selection of different plugs. What else? Maybe a light bulb? Could be. Or, oh, somewhere, yeah, we've got somewhere I can charge my phone. Maybe Sparky Springbot could be somewhere that we can watch TV. I'm going to put a TV screen in. Here's my TV screen, and just to show that it's a screen, I'm going to do those lines there. Nice. I think my Sparky Springbot is just about finished. Is he sparky enough? I'll give him a couple more antennae. One here, and one here. Yeah. Oh, I tell you what, I like this shape. I could do those coming off his shoulders, like this. And then give him some more electricity. There we go. I think he's finished. It might be time to colour in my Sparky Springbot. So I'm going to pause the video now, and I'm going to colour mine in and show you what mine looks like at the end. Then you can colour yours in however you like, whichever colour you think for your Sparky Springbot. There you go. There is my Sparky Springbot all coloured in. I didn't use too many colours. When I'm doing some colouring in with an image like this, I don't want a rainbow robot. If you do, that's absolutely fine. But I stuck to 4 colours. I've got blue, yellow, orange and red. And I think that really makes him stand out. We see the little bits of red dotted all around. The blue is dotted all around. The orange is all around. And then the yellow is really just for those main rectangles. For my TV screen, I sort of shaded in black, but a little messy, like it's getting some light reflecting from it. The only thing I've got left to do is use my black pen to go over the lines for my Sparky Springbot. Some places I left white on this, and they're really going to stand out. It's okay to leave white if you're leaving it on purpose, of course. What I'm going to do with my pen is go over each of the lines, but I'm going to move left to right, because I am right-handed. If I move right to left, I'm going to smudge my ink and I'm going to get big black streaks across the page. So because I write with this hand, I'm going to start over here and move this way across. If you're left-handed, you might do the opposite. You might start doing your black pen over here and move across this way. No worries if you don't have a black pen. Sharpen your pencil, use the point of the pencil, press a little bit harder to do your outlines. I'm going to get started on that now. So I'm starting over here. I'm going to go around carefully with my black pen, because this, once it's on the page forever. This is the part where I'm really going to take my time. I'm going to carry on with this arm. There's one rectangle. There's the other rectangle. And then the last one connecting to the shoulder. I'm going to keep going with this. You have a go at yours. Remember, pause the video, catch up anytime. And here is what my finished article looks like. Sparky Springbot. Now, what you could do, because I found if we look very closely at his springy legs, you can see I've got my pencil marks that I didn't follow exactly. What you could do when your pen has definitely dried is very carefully rub out those pencil marks with your eraser, just leaving the black pen behind. Careful when you're dusting it, you don't want to get dirty fingerprints all over it. And you just take away those pencil marks and leaving the black pen. There we go. There is Sparky Springbot. If you've had a go, I'd love to see a photo. Drop it on your portfolio on Class Dojo. I'll have a look at the end of today, and I'll send you a dojo point for joining in with me today. Thank you very much, everybody. I'm back next week for another robot. I wonder who it will be.